When you retire, never give these things to your children. Retired parents' warning, awake within. What if the love you give, with all the best intentions, is quietly preventing your child from growing? In this video, we explore the delicate truth that no one prepares us for, the hidden cost of giving too much. Rooted in Buddhist wisdom and psychological insight, this reflection invites you to pause and ask, when I retire, what should I keep, not just for my survival, but for my dignity, freedom, and peace? This isn't about letting go of love. It's about letting go with love. Stay with us as we gently unfold 14 things parents must learn to release, or reclaim, after 70. Not to separate from their children, but to reunite with themselves. This is not a rulebook. This is a return. Don't give everything away, how to love your children without losing yourself in old age. As we step into the twilight years of our lives, a new chapter begins, one where the roles that once defined us slowly fade away. We are no longer the parent who stays up late worrying, nor the one who rushes through daily responsibilities. And yet, as these roles dissolve, an emptiness can begin to emerge. Who are we when we are no longer the ones who sacrifice everything for our children? Many parents, especially after the age of 60 or 70, begin to feel that their only remaining purpose is to serve as a legacy for their children. They hurriedly hand over everything, from property to decisions, even the right to live life on their own terms, believing it to be the highest expression of love. But in doing so, many lose themselves. They exchange their freedom, their dignity, and their sense of purpose in order to hold on to a role that, in truth, must be consciously transitioned, not surrendered. Love does not mean becoming a shadow. True love is being present, steadfast, whole, and clear-eyed beside our children, not vanishing into their lives. As Buddhism teaches, all things are impermanent, and attachment, even in love, can become a burden. Sometimes, love without awareness becomes a chain rather than a gift. So the real question is, how do we love our children without losing ourselves? How do we give love without giving away our life? The answer lies in balance, between giving and holding, between presence and retreat, between guidance and letting go at the right moment. Retirement is not the end of the road, but the opening of a new path, one where we learn to live for ourselves, even as we continue to love others. And to walk that path, we must begin by keeping for ourselves the part of life that is still waiting to be lived fully. Blind approval, sometimes saying no, is the greatest lesson. To many parents, unconditional support seems to be the ultimate expression of love. They say, "It's okay, go ahead." Or, "We support you," even when something deep inside them hesitates. They fear that disagreement might hurt their children or push them away. But is that really a healthy form of love? The truth is, saying yes all the time is not always helpful. When approval becomes automatic, children gradually lose the ability to reflect on their choices, their ethics, their consequences. They no longer recognize the boundary between right and wrong, because no one is holding up a mirror. Buddhism teaches mindfulness in all actions, including love. Love must be balanced with wisdom. Blind approval often stems from fear of losing relevance, of being left behind. But sometimes, a well-timed no is the most valuable gift a parent can offer. Saying no does not mean you love your children less. It means you are guiding them toward understanding that choices have weight. And that approval is earned through responsibility, not merely inherited through blood. A wise parent is not the one who always agrees, but the one who knows when to stop and love through boundaries. A mindful no, spoken with care, can teach your child the most essential lesson of all, how to become responsible for their own life. The home, don't rush to leave the safest place of your life. A home is more than just a physical shelter. For many, it holds memories, stories, and emotional security built over a lifetime. It's the space shaped by your struggles, joys, and the quiet dignity of persistence. And yet, in old age, many parents feel compelled to give this home to their children, as a gesture of love or duty. But is that truly a wise offering? When you hand over your home, you're not just giving away property, you're relinquishing control over your life. Any unexpected change in your children's lives, or their intentions, can leave you vulnerable. Some elderly parents have found themselves displaced, no longer welcome in the very place they built with love and sacrifice. Buddhist wisdom values non-attachment and letting go. But it also emphasizes clarity and self-agency. Keeping your home is not an act of selfishness, but of awareness. It symbolizes a grounded inner life. It is not a wall between you and your children, it is a boundary that protects your dignity, autonomy, and well-being. Keeping your home doesn't mean you love your children less. It means you still care for yourself. It is a declaration that your life still matters, that you deserve safety, not just comfort, but freedom. At this stage, think carefully before giving your home away, even to someone you raised with love. Real love doesn't require you to surrender the last refuge of your life. Ready-made solutions, let your children learn to navigate the storm themselves. As parents, we carry a natural instinct to protect. From the earliest years, we are used to stepping in, solving problems, easing every pain. So even as our children grow older, that instinct remains. We worry, we feel the urge to intervene, to offer quick answers. But in that love, we sometimes forget, growth doesn't happen through constant help, it happens through experience. When you always offer advice, map out the road, or clear every obstacle, you may be unintentionally doing your child's learning for them. No one learns to swim by standing on the shore listening to instructions. Only by being in the water, struggling, adjusting, surviving, do real skills develop. True love is not pulling them back to shore forever, but staying close enough to catch them when it matters, and far enough to let them find their strength. Buddhism teaches that difficulties are paths to inner development. Suffering is not meant to be avoided, but to be observed, understood, and overcome through one's own capacity. If we remove that process, our children miss the chance to build confidence and resilience for the storms ahead. Instead of rushing in with ready-made solutions, practice mindful listening. Ask questions that invite thought. Accept that they will make mistakes, and know that this is how they will grow. You don't need to be in every battle they face. Sometimes, your absence at the right moment is the most powerful form of love. The parental role, don't let it eclipse your true identity. There's something few people talk about. Being a parent for too long can make you forget who you truly are. What begins as one role in your life gradually expands to consume your entire identity. From the moment your child was born, your every decision has revolved around them. What to eat, what they like, what job to take, what benefits them most. Your joys are tied to theirs, your sorrows mirror theirs. Over time, you begin living as a shadow orbiting someone else's needs, while slowly letting go of the parts that once made you whole. But life is impermanent. Children grow up. They move on, find their own paths, and naturally stop needing you the way they once did. When that moment comes, and you're no longer actively playing the role of parent, the haunting question emerges. If I'm no longer needed in that role, then who am I? Many people fall into a sense of emptiness. They feel disconnected, even invisible. They begin clinging tighter to their children's lives, not because they're truly needed, but because they don't know how to exist without that identity. Buddhism teaches that every label is temporary. Being a parent is not your essence, it's a beautiful, meaningful role, but not your entire being. You were not born only to serve others. You are also a person with your own personality, passions, inner life, and unfinished dreams. Old age is an invitation to return to yourself. It's a time to ask, who am I beyond being someone's parent? You have the right to rediscover yourself. Learn something new. Travel to a place you've always dreamed of. Write that book. Rekindle the passion you once buried under duty. When you live as a whole person, your children learn to do the same, without emotional debt, without dependency. Deep love isn't about unlimited sacrifice. It's about knowing when to step back and live the rest of your life fully. Don't let the role of parent be the only thing that defines you. Because when that role fades, what remains is your true self, and that self still deserves to be lived with depth, freedom, and dignity. Finances, the key to preserving your worth and freedom in old age. Money is more than numbers. For many people over the age of 70, it symbolizes autonomy, dignity, and the ability to choose how to live the rest of their lives. Yet in many families, a quiet shift happens. Aging parents begin to hand over full control of their finances to their children. Sometimes it stems from trust, sometimes from a desire to go with the flow, or simply from believing their role is over. But when you let someone else decide how your money is spent, you're also surrendering your right to live the way you want. Finances are not just about consumption, they are a form of freedom. They allow you to say no. They give you the power to choose, even in the smallest ways. Where to go, what to eat, where to live, and how to experience each day. Buddhism teaches that attachment to material things leads to suffering. But this doesn't mean money has no role in sustaining independence and peace of mind. Retaining financial control is not selfish. It is mindful. It is the act of protecting your boundaries, your values, and your ability to choose. You can involve your children, seek advice from a trusted financial planner, or delegate parts of the process, but never hand over everything. When you give someone total power over your resources, you place your emotional and material security in their hands. And if relationships become strained, or if your children face financial trouble, the consequences can be devastating, not just materially, but emotionally. Old age should not be a passive season. In fact, this is when you deserve to live on your own terms. And to do that, you must keep hold of your most powerful tool, the ability to decide what is yours. This isn't just wisdom, it's a deep, enduring act of self-love. Emotions, don't carry everyone's sorrows on your weary shoulders. There is a kind of exhaustion that doesn't show on the surface but builds quietly inside, when you listen too much, worry too deeply, and carry emotions that were never yours to begin with. People often assume that aging brings lightness, but in truth, many parents in their later years silently bear the emotional weight of their children and grandchildren, with hearts no longer as resilient as they once were. You hear stories of a child's failing marriage, financial struggles, dissatisfaction at work. You worry constantly. You lose sleep. You want to help but don't know how. So you say nothing. But inside, you absorb their pain as if it were your duty. But you must remember this, emotions, too, need boundaries. Buddhism teaches that compassion does not mean taking on all the suffering of others. True compassion requires wisdom, to know when to listen and when to step back. To protect your own energy. Old age is not a time to carry more. It's a time to carry less. Learn to discern what you can truly share, and what you must gently lay down. Not taking on everyone's sorrow doesn't mean you love them any less, it means you are learning to love more wisely, more sustainably. You have the right to protect your peace. To say no to conversations that leave you drained. To take walks alone instead of fixing someone else's chaos. You've carried enough through life. You know low in your have to prove you're the one who can endure the most. Empathy does not mean drowning with someone. It means being present without being consumed. And sometimes, your calm presence, the stillness you cultivate within, will offer more healing than any advice or solution. The past, share it as light. not as a burden. The past is something we carry throughout our lives. It lives in our voice, our eyes, the way we love, fear, and hope. But as we grow older, the past can become a heavy load, a collection of hurts, lessons, regrets, and unfinished words. Many parents begin to lay this weight on their children, hoping they will avoid repeating the same mistakes and learn from their experiences. But there is a fine line between sharing to enlighten and imposing to control. When you speak of the past with resentment, fear, or unresolved sorrow, you may unknowingly pass that emotional weight onto your children. They won't just hear your story, they'll carry your pain. Buddhism teaches that the past is not meant to be clung to forever, but to be seen clearly and let go. Growth does not come from avoiding mistakes but from experiencing and learning directly. When you insist your children avoid becoming like you, you may inadvertently limit their path. Each person must stumble, rise, and learn their own lessons. Share your life story as a guiding light, not a heavy warning. Speak from peace, not from wounds. Let your past reflect strength and recovery, not bitterness and fear. You don't need to hand over all your scars to be understood. You only need to be present, as living proof that a person can fall, fail, and still rise whole. Let your past become light, something that helps your children see their own way, not a shadow that binds them to yours. The right to decide, be the one who continues writing your own story. Old age often comes with withdrawal, stepping back from work, social roles, and sometimes from the right to make decisions about your own life. Many elderly people assume that at this stage, decisions should be left to their children, about food, medication, housing, and even more personal matters like friendships, outings, or how they spend their money. At first, it seems convenient. The children take care of everything, and all you need to do is go along. But over time, a quiet discomfort sets in. One day, you may find yourself in a room you didn't choose, eating food you don't enjoy, following a schedule made by someone else. And more deeply, you realize, you are no longer the author of your life. Buddhism does not promote attachment, but it values mindfulness, especially in choices. Old age is not the final chapter, it is a new one, meant to be written with your own awareness. No one, not even your children, can live your life for you. No one knows you better than you. Have the courage to say no when needed. Choose what feels right to you, even in the small things, the clothes you wear, the food you prefer, the people you want to be around. These seemingly minor choices are the threads that hold together your identity, your autonomy, and your quiet dignity. When you continue to choose, you are still living, not merely surviving. And that will teach your children a profound lesson. Old age is not about losing power, it's about living more truly, on your own terms. Healing the silences, forgiving yourself, forgiving the past. Not all wounds are loud. Some pain is quiet, unspoken regrets that sit in memory like long stretches of silence, a harsh word, a wrong decision, a missed opportunity. And as we age, these silences grow louder. Life slows down, leaving us with more time to remember, and often to regret. Sometimes we feel anger toward ourselves for the things we didn't do right. For many parents, regret comes in the form of persistent questions: did I raise my children well? I shouldn't have spoken that way. I wish I had spent more time with them. Without mindful reflection and compassion toward ourselves, these questions become invisible burdens that weigh down the heart. Buddhism teaches that suffering is transformed only when we face it with a non-judgmental heart. Healing is not about forgetting. It's about seeing the past differently, with understanding and forgiveness. Forgiving yourself is a journey. It is not about denying responsibility, but about recognizing your humanity. You have made mistakes, been weak, failed to love well at times, but like every human being, you are worthy of forgiveness and of continuing to live fully. Let those quiet spaces become a sanctuary, where you sit with yourself not to blame, but to embrace what was once left unloved within you. When you make peace with yourself, you stop asking others to heal the pain for you. And that is the first step toward a deep kind of freedom, freedom from the past, from guilt, and from the harshness you've carried silently for so long. Redefining happiness, life's meaning is not just sacrifice. You've spent a lifetime living for others. You're used to sacrificing, enduring, placing your children's and family's needs above your own. For many, especially the older generation, a good life has long meant a life lived for others. But now, as you grow older, and the people you once gave everything for have their own lives, you may start to feel a quiet emptiness. A haunting question begins to rise: if no one needs me to sacrifice anymore, then why am I still here? This question is not small. It challenges the very foundation of how you've defined your worth. You've believed meaning comes from giving, yielding, and bearing. But that is only part of the truth. Buddhism teaches that meaning is not found in self-denial, but in mindful awareness, in presence, self-understanding, and knowing where your path leads. Sacrifice can be noble, but it cannot be life's only meaning. Without nourishing yourself, even love will run dry. Without listening to yourself, all giving becomes rootless. Old age is the perfect time to ask again: what is happiness when duty no longer defines me? Perhaps happiness now is reading the book you once set aside. It's in slowing down, in waking up each morning knowing you still get to choose how to live. Happiness doesn't have to be grand. It only needs to be true to you. You are not selfish for choosing to live for yourself now. On the contrary, it is the wisdom of someone who once gave everything and now consciously chooses to live what remains fully. That, too, is love, a quiet, profound love directed inward. Inner awakening: when you're no longer someone's parent, who are you? There comes a quiet moment in life that unsettles us deeply, when our children have grown, moved on, and no longer need us in the same way. The tasks that once filled our days, cooking, caring, guiding, worrying, suddenly stop being requested. One day, you sit alone in a familiar house. Everything's still in place, except you feel strangely hollow. If you're no longer someone's parent every day, then who are you?
This isn't just a personal question. It's a spiritual one. It touches the very core of being, the part of you that has long been postponed for duty.
Buried under roles and responsibilities. Roles can change. But the self, the essential you, waits quietly beneath them all. Buddhism calls this the awakening of the inner self, the moment you no longer seek your identity in roles, titles, or the approval of others, but through presence with your true being. You are no longer mother, father, retiree, you are simply a human being, alive, breathing, and present. Awakening doesn't come through crisis, but through silence, long enough to hear what has always been calling inside you. That voice does not ask what will you do, but are you truly alive, are you fully present with yourself? As you step into that space, free from roles, beyond function, you encounter a new kind of freedom, the freedom of not needing to prove anything anymore. The freedom to simply live, for life itself. And perhaps, that is the most beautiful gift aging can offer, the chance to return. Not to the past, but to yourself, whole, undefined, and finally, fully here. No, you're not selfish for putting yourself first. From an early age, you were taught. Good people put others first. Being kind means sacrificing. Being a parent means placing your children above all, no matter the exhaustion, the pain, or the tears swallowed in silence. And you lived that way for decades, without complaint. But now, as you choose rest, stillness, and the small joys meant just for you, you might hear a quiet voice inside: am I being selfish? That question, seemingly simple, runs deep in the minds of many older adults. They carry guilt when saying no to their children or grandchildren. They hesitate when no longer willing to carry others. Burdens. They fear judgment. They fear becoming useless. But the truth is, caring for yourself is not selfish. It is a sacred responsibility. A person who is drained cannot love deeply. One who is exhausted cannot offer peace. And someone who constantly forgets themselves will eventually disappear. Buddhism reminds us. Self-love is not indulgence. It is the discipline of preserving your energy so you can live with clarity. The mature soul does not exist to please others, it lives to remain anchored in awareness. You do not need to apologize for choosing rest. You do not have to explain your silence. You have the right to set boundaries, to move slowly, to say, I need to take care of myself first. That doesn't make you love less, it allows you to love more wisely. And if someone judges you for that, remember. Their reaction reflects their own fear or dependence, not your worth. You are walking in the right direction, toward wholeness, toward peace, toward yourself. Live freely to love more fully. In the end, what we all long for, whether in youth or old age, is a love that feels complete, to be loved, to give love. And to be ourselves within that love. But here is a truth not everyone realizes early on, deep love doesn't come from sacrificing yourself, it comes from a soul that is free enough not to cling. You cannot love others fully when you're tired, resentful, or constantly feeling responsible for everyone else's happiness. You can only love truly when you are free, free in spirit. Independent in choice, and peaceful within. Old age is not a closing act. It is a new chapter, one you are allowed to write your own way. You don't need to live to please anyone. You don't have to prove your worth. Simply being here, fully present and awake, is already a gift to the world. Buddhism teaches that love is not about possession or control, it is about being fully present with lightness. When you live freely, no longer bound by guilt, expectations, or outdated roles, you become a source of calm, honest love. Your children don't need you to fix everything. They need to see you living fully. Your friends don't need you to carry their burdens. They need to see you as yourself, joyful, gentle, able to say no, and able to listen inwardly. When you begin to live freely, you also begin to love unconditionally, without pressure, without expectation. That is the deepest love. That is the most precious presence you can offer. And that only begins when you choose to love yourself first.